Hi, I'm Maria, and this is the Agile State of Mind. Welcome! Today, we're going to talk about how Scrum Masters remove the impediments. Some say that Scrum Masters are managers of only one thing, and that's managing the impediments. So, how is a Scrum Master an impediment remover? What are the impediments? Do we remove the impediments ourselves? Or do we delegate it to the team? And is every impediment a blocker to the team's progress indeed? Today, we will learn more about Scrum Master as impediment remover. Let's start! According to the Scrum Guide, the Scrum Master should serve the team by causing the removal of impediments to the Scrum team progress. Causing the removal doesn't necessarily mean removing them ourselves, does it? The second and last mention of the word impediment in the Scrum Guide comes with the daily Scrum. And it says, daily Scrums improve communications, identify impediments, promote quick decision-making, and consequently remove the need for other meetings. Hinting at us that daily Scrums are a perfect opportunity to surface any blockers. A tip for coaching the teams. Although, if an impediment arises, let's not wait for a formal opportunity to report it. Let's just do it now. In bigger organizations with dozens of teams, you probably have some other opportunities to report blockers, such as Scrum of Scrums, team syncs, and so on. Depending on the organizational needs, those meetings can occur on daily or weekly basis. But still, remember that those aren't the only opportunities to report blockers. Whenever you find a blocker, you should be reporting it directly. And now let's talk about what is an impediment, because that can be a tricky one, right? An impediment is anything that blocks the Scrum team from making progress towards the sprint goal. Barry Overeem, in 8 Stances of Scrum Master, defines the difference between a block and an impediment. And he says, a block affects only a single task, whereas an impediment acts like a parachute, slowing down overall progress. It is one way of looking at those. From my experience though, the terms can be used interchangeably. Let's find some typical examples of impediments towards team progress. One, an issue with an environment. You probably find that on your daily basis. Any issue with a development environment that prevents the team from promoting the code from one stage to another is an impediment. 2. Lack of permissions to some development tools. This one mostly occurs when we are onboarding new team members and they wait for weeks and weeks to get all the permissions needed. 3. Lack of contract definition for the APIs. 4. Lack of product decisions. So the team waiting on deciding whether they should go this way, that way, or think about a totally new alternative. That's usually when the product owner is not available. And 5, a key person in the team with a special skill set is out on a personal leave suddenly. Then we realize that this person was a bottleneck in the team, so that's already another problem. And meanwhile, the Scrum Master could jump in and look for a solution for the team's progress. When removing impediments, I find 2 quite opposite issues. So one would be that the teams don't even report the impediments, and Scrum Masters sometimes cannot even know that the environment is broken because Scrum Master usually doesn't code. Usually, not always. There might be a lot of reasons why that happens, but this is when the Scrum Master should put teacher hat and teach the teams to surface any impediments to their progress, unless they already resolve them on their own. Some of the questions to help the team identify any blockers would be 1. Why not a 5? This one is one of the favorite questions of my manager. What we usually do, we are asking about confidence level from 1 to 5 of meeting the sprint goal, the PI objectives, any given milestone, and when all the team members respond how confident they are of meeting it, then we can ask those that put a number below 5, why not a 5? And this way, we can uncover some hidden issues that block the efficiency of the team. Second question would be, what could speed up the value delivery? This is another question that puts a different perspective on finding the impediment. On the other hand, I find teams that get stalled on easily resolved blockers or even hardly a showstoppers. In such cases, it would be interesting to ask the following questions. 1. Are you stopped? Asking the teams if they are actually stopped and cannot make any progress at all can help them find some alternative ways and move forward. A typical example would be with the front-end teams waiting for the back-end to have the API calls ready. What they could do would be to use mock calls. Of course, that is a little bit more work, but looking at those examples, you can see that sometimes out of a perceived blocker, learning opportunities arise, and teams can find some new ways of development. 2. Do you need this right now? This is yet another way of changing the team's perspective. Do you really need this right now? Or can you progress knowing that what you need will come in a few days? And 3, which is another way of saying the same, is, can you work around it? Is there any way you can work around what you are waiting for? Those questions can help boost creativity of the team and change their perspective, getting a little bit out of the box when thinking about solving their impediments. And now let's move on to the impediments that are out of the self-organization and capability of the teams to solve them within the Scrum team. As Barry states in 8 Stances of Scrum Master, something will only become an impediment when it exceeds the self-organizing capabilities of the team. Those are only the moments when the Scrum Master steps in and helps the team remove the impediments. So we have 2 things. 1 are the impediments that escape the team capacity to resolve, and it could be the example that I gave previously of a person going on a sick leave and the person appears to be a bottleneck for the team. We don't have time right now to solve the bottleneck. This person was a QA. The Scrum Master could go and talk to the manager or talk to another team and find out if there is another person that could help the team. Meanwhile, the other one is on a sick leave. Another part of the impediment are the impediments that the team can solve themselves. And it's important to surface all those impediments even though the team is self-organized enough to remove them. Because if we surface them, we can spot any pattern and any repeated issues that could need a process, and we could find some permanent fixes for the repetitive issues. For example, the typical issue that whenever a new person comes in, we have to wait for weeks to get all the necessary permission for the internal tool. That's something that a Scrum Master could take on and talk to the IT team to see how the process could be improved and also bring more context, because maybe the IT team doesn't even realize how it is a problem to the Scrum teams because they have other more important issues. We can help create a process and make the onboarding much more smooth for the newcomers. And here comes the topic of the culture. That means that the Scrum Master should know the company culture, the company organization, what are the main departments, processes. So whenever we hear about a blocker, we can help the team and point them to the right person, point them to the right Confluence page where a process is explained, and so on. This is also something that as Scrum Masters we should take into account and understand company culture and the company context. And that's all for today. I hope this episode will bring some more light on how Scrum Masters solve or delegate or help the team solve their impediment. So thanks for watching. Bye bye.